Welcome back to another episode of Outwatch, a Survivor Rewatch podcast. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Alex, and I am joined by three of my friends, as always, as we plow through Season 28 of Survivor Cagayan, an all-timer. We are on episode 5, and we will be dissecting and reacting to that episode. Like I alluded to, I am joined by three friends, and it's time you are introduced to them. Adam, welcome to Outwatch.
Just so happy to be here. You know, a couple of wild episodes we got coming up.
Oh yeah. In this episode, for instance, Tony makes a big, perhaps goof by after an immunity win. Top 5, baby. Top 5. Everybody was really upset by that, and later some survivors tried to impersonate his voice and did so pretty poorly. So I'm going to be asking our co-hosts to do their best Tony Vlachos impersonation. Adam, would you like to go?
Hey, I'm not a cop.
I am a cop.
I am a cop.
I am a cop.
Oh, Tony.
Not bad.
He might actually be my favorite survivor, like, thus far. He's just ridiculous to watch, but I love it.
Yeah, completely. He is so aware of the television show that he's on.
Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of expected him to like die down a little bit as he became like, you know, dehydrated and malnourished. But it's like he's just feeding off the fact that he is slowly dying.
I think so. It gives him strength. All
No
right.
strength.
Emily, welcome to Outwatch.
Well, thanks for having me.
Give me your best Tony Vlachos.
I haven't practiced at all to make sure that this is the most organic experience. But
I'm so happy to hear
top
that.
5, baby! Top 5!
Pretty good. Better than Spencer's. Scott, welcome to Outwatch.
Hey, guys.
Give me your best Tony Vlachos.
What was that?
Give me your best Tony Vlachos.
Hey, guys, it's me, Tony.
I asked for Tony Vlachos, not Fonzie. Hey, it's me, Tony.
There's an idol. I got one. It's right here.
All right, so I guess this is harder to do than we maybe first thought. We shouldn't have thrown so much shade. I love this moment because Spencer sounded more like Borat than it did Tony Vlachos. Like, really the top 5, baby. My wife.
My idol.
Number 1 survivor player in all of Kazakhstan.
I survived real good.
Oh, man, what a great episode this one is. And we're going to take you all the way through it. So before we get deep into our dissection, how about a quick run through Tree Mail to catch everybody up on what happened? This episode starts right off back at the camp of the tribe that just lost and voted out Cliff. Trish tries to make nice with Lindsay, and Lindsay just blows up. And Trish, as a proud Bostonian woman, does not let that fly and sends it right back. Jeff comes to the beach to talk to Lindsay, and Lindsay just quits because she doesn't like Trish. So just like that, not only does their tribe lose Cliff, but loses Lindsay right afterwards. The reward challenge, this is one of my all-time favorite challenges, where you've got the idols on the pegs and you have to knock the other person's off. The Orange tribe wins, and we get a camp raid where Wu and Tony go to raid the other tribe. And Tony pretends to give Jeremiah a clue to an idol to raise suspicion on him. And surprisingly, it works very well. Meanwhile, when they get back to camp, Tony opens up to his newly trimmed tribe, feels very optimistic about them when they're down a couple of bad eggs. LJ doesn't quite buy it, though. He's still suspicious. Jeremiah tries to plead his case to his tribe about how this was not a real idol clue, but Spencer and Alexis are hesitant to believe that story. Meanwhile, a little bit later, the Purple tribe wins immunity, and Tony lets out a primal top 5, baby, top 5, to which everybody on the other tribe hears and gets pretty unimpressed and upset by. Back at the losing camp, Morgan and Alexis want Jeremiah gone. Jeremiah is sending the target back on Alexis, and it's basically up to the brains as a unit to decide which way the vote falls. And they ultimately decide to knock out Alexis, who is completely blindsided. She did not see it coming.
Perfect use of that.
Back on top of her. And Alexis is the next person gone.
Didn't see it coming.
Yeah, it did kind of seem to come out of nowhere, huh?
I was like, what?
All right, so a lot happened this episode, including a pretty big blindside there at Tribal Council, like we alluded to. Emily, what was your favorite moment of this whole episode?
I thought it was really interesting when they did the tribe raid.
Yeah.
Because when
Shades of Pearl Islands, right?
Yeah. When
Pirates.
yeah, they were being pirates. They're just living that pirate life for them.
Yo ho.
Oh, when Wu and Tony went, and then Tony was, that's what I'm talking about, right? Tony?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Tony. Hey, Tony. Yeah. He is just playing this game so recklessly. And he was just making up plans on the fly.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, let's give him this clue. And then they were about to leave. He's like, oh, well, crap. Then people can look at it. So we need to go take it back. I'm like, how does anyone believe what you're doing right now?
You're totally right. And that he's so reckless and it's so fun to watch. But
and that's the thing. Like, he doesn't look like he's calculated in most of what he does. Right. But somehow it just like works. I genuinely do not understand how Tony is still like a key player in this game.
He is king bullshitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just must seem so confident that people don't question him.
Yeah.
He's a cop.
He's a cop?
He's a cop.
Yeah. We're also seeing like all of his interactions and not, a select few, like if you were a player would. So maybe that affects it. But yeah, I don't know. Tony's such a fun player to watch.
He is a lot of fun. Scott, did you have a favorite moment of this episode?
Probably the fight between Trish and Lindsay.
Yeah.
Low-key. Mm-hmm. I was kind of just entertained watching it. And then I was not happy because Lindsay quit. And I was like, thanks, girl. Thanks for that.
Abandoning the RNG's squad.
I know. Real big hit. But I don't know. I just was entertained watching that for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't really have a good reason why per se, but I was just entertained watching the fight. So
yeah, we can start there. What was y'all's thoughts when kind of like out of the blue, it's like cut to Jeff is there on the beach?
Yeah, I spent the first 30 seconds of that thinking that was a tribe member coming to comfort Lindsay. And I was like, oh, that's Jeff.
Yeah.
I was so confused why she just was like, I'm going to quit. I was like, what are you doing? It's not that big a deal, probably. But no, apparently it was that big of a deal.
Yeah, she said that like she is afraid that she's going to fight her or something, right?
Yeah. Man.
I think Trish must have really just found her button and just pushed it, because it was interesting to hear Lindsay talk with her or argue with her. Because the only things that she was saying were, you're so annoying, you have a horse face, like...
Yeah, that was really not cool.
Yeah, just like a lot about her physical attributes. And I think she was just so mad that she couldn't even express. She couldn't like fight back. I think she was just in a really bad place.
I don't know about y'all, but like watching this too, I really feel like Trish really didn't do anything wrong. Like, it seemed to me like she kind of extended the olive branch there to start, and like wanted to try and say, hey, let's talk this out. And then Lindsay wouldn't have it. And then Trish was like, okay, here we go.
I'm kind of curious because Lindsay's coming from the Braun tribe, the same as Trish, but I kind of wonder if Lindsay just like has a higher demand for loyalty in people, like people that she considers teammates.
Sure.
And I could see that being just problematic for her. She feels like Trish isn't trustworthy. Trish is actively working against her. I don't know. I can see that playing into it, but I feel like at the end of the day, that's really just excusing her behavior.
Yeah, you kind of said it, Emily, but Trish was really like personal and mean and nasty. Or not Trish, sorry, Lindsay was. And Trish was just kind of like, I don't know. She just kind of deflected it, and like, she was never like, you have disgusting hair, you know. She didn't return the like personal meanness.
Yeah.
Good to know what you think about Lindsay's hair, though.
Well, and Lindsay's a Hoosier, isn't she? She's
from Kokomo, Indiana.
Kokomo.
Is she really?
Yeah.
I'm Lindsay, and I'm a Hoosier.
I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Indiana University.
IU Kokomo.
IU Kokomo.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, we're
the
getting
thing.
really local for our listeners who are not from Indiana. Anyway.
Yeah, I didn't really feel like Trish really was at fault or had much blame. You know,
this episode, that just seems to be the theme of it, where things happen and you're just kind of sitting there going, I don't really understand how that led to this.
Yeah, that's fair. Even when Lindsay was talking to Jeff of like, Trish was just so mean and like, it's like, I didn't see that.
I didn't either. I just don't think she was able to fight back. And I think it really got to her that she was like, you're ugly. And Trish was like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
She was like, well, you're ugly.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of how it felt.
That is
like she couldn't really express herself.
Yeah.
So we get to the reward challenge. This is one of my favorite Survivor challenges. They've done it a few times, and we've actually talked about it on the podcast before as an example of emergent strategy. It doesn't happen in this season, but a later one, such that I even used it in my own Survivor production. But it's the one where it's a one-on-one. You've got like a little peg with a little idol on it, and you have to try and knock the other ones off. And if it hits the ground first, then you win, right? So Orange wins this and gets a camp raid. I thought the reward challenge was great, and also the commentary was really funny. There was like one time, I think it was Jeremiah and LJ going up against each other. Do you guys remember this? And Jeff was like, a showdown between two bearded mountain men.
I must have missed that.
I don't remember that.
It was so funny.
I think I missed that one.
Yeah, you get a shot of both of them kind of going like, what? Also, so. And then when I think it was like Morgan and Tony, do you remember this one?
Yes.
LJ was like, don't look her in the eyes.
Oh, yeah. No. Yes. He just sucked in.
Yeah. And Morgan just has like a really extreme mood eye roll, you know?
Yeah.
Great challenge, though. Takes on the challenge. Are you as high on it as I was? Adam's our resident challenge hot takeist. So
yeah, that's true.
On the idol challenge, I don't know. I was pretty like neutral on it. Like I liked it. I thought it was a cool challenge, but it wasn't like anything crazy or I don't know.
Yeah. I think when you can isolate people one-on-one like that too, it's interesting.
Yeah. And it's the thing about challenges like that. I get really upset when challenges can't be like strategically won. Like I think when I'm most annoyed with challenges, it's like this can't be strategically won, or like it could have been strategically won and no one just did it well. This was like, I can see the strategy in this. I can see this being a really good challenge eventually. Right now, I think it was just kind of an okay challenge.
Strategically won in the sense that you can win it by like sheer brute force without like having to strategize to do it. Is that what you mean?
Well, like with Spencer, right? And this is the example that you gave a while back,
right,
Alex. But so I don't know if we explained this, but they're holding idols on like a little platter, and they go one-on-one, and they have to try and knock the other person's idol off of the platter. And so Spencer was up against Woo, and I'm thinking, oh well, Woo is like, does he do martial arts?
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's probably
he's like a surfing instructor too, I think.
Idea.
Yeah.
But Spencer just threw his idol in the air and then knocked down Woo so that Woo's fell first.
Yep.
So that was definitely strategic.
Right. And that's what I mean. Like there are some, like when it's like a team event or like when it's something like this, I get really annoyed when it's just, put weight on someone.
Yeah.
And put more weight on them. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
like, those are really like boring and not very interesting challenges.
Yep.
And there's not a ton of strategy that you can do for them. It's just, well, let's hope we exhaust them before they exhaust us.
Right. Who is physically stronger.
Yeah. And this one, like, anybody could really win any of the matchups. Like and like the one where they had to like hold onto the pole and then get dragged across.
Yeah, that
was
sucked.
a really physical challenge and was interesting. But at the end of the day, it was too easy for one other tribe to just be stronger, no one could pull off Cliff.
Yeah, I was going to say Cliff was just going to be stuck.
Just couldn't be done. So, this one, at least there was a balance to it. Whereas like, even if you were, like Jeffra, like you could win it. Or even if you, were Woo, you could lose. It was,
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a good challenge in that regard, I think,
I really liked it just because it was different than kind of the cookie cutter. Let's do this random task, get this key, unlock this box, knock our pieces down, and then solve a puzzle.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which that two, I mean, it's kind of what it becomes after so long of watching this. So I appreciate challenges like this that are a little bit different, and it's something different to watch. I don't know.
Yeah, you've got to find the balance, I think, and I think Survivor does a pretty good job at this nowadays of like. And I think things like this that are kind of breaking the mold typically find their way in as reward challenges, so it's less high stakes, Yeah. But I prefer something in between, Pearl Islands, where we got like, for today's challenge, you're going to shoot a musket. It's like, what?
Yeah.
To what you described of like everyone is go over this obstacle, grab this bag of puzzle pieces, go over another obstacle, grab another bag of puzzle pieces, assemble the puzzle, So I like mixed in different skills like this that aren't like so precise that they're weird, like shooting a musket, but that's just me. So the reward is that Wu and Tony go to the other tribe and steal their like comfort items and their fishing kit, right? But the big story from this, like we mentioned before, was that Tony has this harebrained spur of the moment scheme where they were given a clue to an immunity idol, which had already been found, for the record, by LJ. And instead of just being like, okay, it's our idol, he's like, let's plant this on Jeremiah, create this whole scene like we now are giving it to him so that they are suspicious of him and vote him out. In the moment there, as this was happening, Emily, what did you think about this strategic choice on the part of Tony?
Just reckless. Just so reckless. The thing that was weird to me, because they gave it to Jeremiah, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's who it is. I get him and LJ confused because apparently they're two mountain men.
Two bearded mountain men.
Yes. Jeremiah was just like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
like,
he sucks.
And then when they left, he was like, yeah, it was the same clue. Like, now I'm going to tell my whole tribe now that I can't show them proof that it was the same clue.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I don't believe you. I was like, why were you sitting on this information?
Because he's bad at Survivor.
Yeah, Jeremiah's not good at Survivor.
They just made it seem like he was reading it and he was like, a clue.
I know. Dude,
well, he's already read this.
It's like, yeah, I think Jeremiah genuinely believed that, like, in the moment that Tony was supposed to do this thing.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until much later that he realized, that was probably a ploy by Tony.
Yeah.
Which just kind of shows how bad of a Survivor player he is. Yeah.
What do you think the ideal way to play that would be if you're Jeremiah? Like, as soon as you realize, this is a duplicate clue, or even if you don't even realize it and you're on a tribe and you've just been given this information that makes you a target, like how do you think you play that in a better way? And so anything else about Jeremiah's play? I think we covered it pretty well, that he did it really poorly, and any other way would have been better. Because ultimately he tells the truth to Spencer and Alexis, and they don't buy it, which is a rare thing to happen in Survivor, where you're actually telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And people are like, I don't think so.
That feels like I feel like that would be my experience in Survivor. I would wind up telling the truth and just no one would believe me. And I'm just sitting there like, guys, come on.
No, I really have the idol. Okay, sure.
I swear I'll play it. Adam.
Cool.
This is a tribe idol.
Cool.
Okay, so the immunity challenge. This is the one where they have to like get through a few obstacles, and then they've got to put together the number puzzle, and then they put the like numbers in a lock, and they open it and they win. My biggest gripe with this one, and this is a consistent gripe for me with Survivor challenges, is I want every challenge to be designed so that it is impossible for the other tribe to copy a correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something.
Looking at it, that was ridiculous.
That got me. When Tony was like, "You're looking for whatever," and like I sat there going, like, "There's no way they'd use the same numbers, right?" And then they did.
Yeah.
That was dumb. I was for that challenge until that moment, and then I was like, no.
It happens like on puzzles a lot, and I just want them to put a wall up between the two tribes. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that takes away from the viewing experience, but I feel like it sucks whenever you're watching. Like, it's unfair, I think, when one team can copy the other, and it's also not fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're just gonna do what they did now.
Yeah, I will say, like, I find myself, I don't watch like that closely, so it doesn't. I did notice it this time though with like the numbers, but I've never really noticed it in past episodes we've watched.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
for
the
whatever reason.
The thing is, when you're putting together a puzzle, like in general, just because you know what it's kind of going to look like in a few more moves, I don't think that's that big of an advantage. But when
Sure.
you know the numbers that you're looking for,
That's a pretty big one.
and something that would be so easy to just be like, well, here are 3 2-digit numbers, and here are 3 different 2-digit numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, that would have been real easy to do.
you know, I guess the only argument you can have against that is one team's set of numbers might be harder to put together than the others, but I don't feel like it's a really valid thing. Like, I feel like the most balanced way, quote unquote, is to make them the same numbers and put up a wall.
Right.
But you could also just like run the game a few times with some interns and see if they roughly take the same amount of time to put the puzzle together.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want them to institute this in every challenge. Just put a wall between one tribe and the other whenever there's some sort of number solving or puzzle solving or word search or whatever. Just like make it so you cannot copy. That's all I want. If I had Jeff's ear for a minute, that's what I would tell him.
Come on, Survivor.
Yeah.
Be better.
Be better.
This is the sole purpose of our podcast is
Hey,
to
Jeff.
get this influence.
We rewatch
Beauty.
so they can do better in the future.
They can go back to previous episodes.
We know you're listening, Jeff.
Yeah, come on, Jeff. What else would you be doing right now?
I'm not really sure.
So, the Purple Tribe wins after they've been trimmed down. Their new group is a cohesive and strong one, such that they win. And Tony does his top 5, baby. Top 5, top 5, baby. Top 5, baby. This is a great example of what we were talking about earlier, where Tony is always full send in Survivor. He's always going for it 100%, full send. Sometimes that works great, and sometimes it is catastrophic. And in this instance, it was pretty bad.
I don't understand it. Like, well, the thing I don't understand is Woo is like all bought in on this now, apparently.
He just kind of went with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably like, this is what I got to do to survive. Is
and in fairness, he wasn't one point okay with voting Cliff out, so like maybe this isn't like such a big turn for him, but
yeah. But it's interesting because it really catalyzes the other tribe to like in the decision they make at this tribal, which ultimately is not what Tony wanted because he wanted Jeremiah out, obviously. And then as we see in the next episode, like going into the merge too, it catalyzes them sticking together, or at least trying to stick together as best as they can.
I was gonna say we'll surely talk about this more next episode because that's actually the merge episode. But it seems to me like in doing that, you really solidify your like the other team is gonna stick together because you've made it seem like there's no place, or everyone is like, no, we're done with this guy. You know, like either you've alienated yourself or you've alienated an entire tribe when the merge comes next week.
At the very least, you see Sarah get really turned off by that.
Yeah.
She had a pretty close relationship with Tony pre-swap, and now she's like, well, I'm not a part of that 5. So, and I again, you see early in the next episode, but Tony really is banking on Sarah as their 6th number because of their alliance that happened before the swap. And by probably an unthinking, like almost meaningless reaction to winning a challenge and going, top 5, baby, top 5. Like it kind of blows everything up.
Yeah, that was what I thought. My interpretation of it was just like that's some jock jargon that happens when you win, right? Like, oh, we're top 5. Like, oh, we're so cool. But huge implications. People were still talking about it and mimicking him.
Yeah.
Well, after the challenge.
It's surprising. It really pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
So if you ever get on Survivor, just never celebrate with the top 5. Top 5, baby.
Save it for top 4. Save it for top 4.
Top 4. Top 4, baby.
Top 4, baby.
Top 16, baby.
Imagine if like you win the first challenge and everybody's celebrating. You're like, top 10, baby.
Just a troll.
Yeah, right.
This kind of seems like it should be something that became a thing in Survivor. Like,
yeah.
Future seasons should be mocking Tony for this move.
We'll be the top 5, baby.
New tribe name.
The 5 of us right now, let's go ahead and lock it in. I've got an alliance with you. Lock it in. Top 5 baby alliance.
Top 5 baby. Top 5 baby.
Shake hands. So back at the losing tribe, you get what was kind of alluded to at the beginning of the swap, where the brains are kind of in the middle of this power struggle between the pre-swap beauties. Morgan and Alexis want to vote out Jeremiah. Jeremiah takes the target and puts it back on Alexis. And the brains find themselves kind of in the decision-making place. And Sarah finds herself safe and not really a topic of conversation because of the sort of infighting of the beauty. There was a great confessional from Cass. This was the name of the episode, but...
Ooh, do I get points?
Yeah, you got a point for that. But where she says, like, you know, she talks about how the brains were struggling before, and then all these other, like, the beauty, pretty people, you know, have so much dysfunction. And she's like, we found our zombies. The brain just needed a body. And I was like, oh, that's really good. That's like action movie monologue level stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay. So put yourself in this tribe here, in this situation, with basically it going between Alexis and Jeremiah. If you're in the brain spot, who do you think the correct target is for you? We saw what they went with was Alexis, but do you think that was the correct move for those people who are ultimately making that decision?
So in this moment, you want to vote out a beauty person. Because I don't think that Sarah is one person. She's almost inconsequential to if the merge happens and she flips. But you can really hurt beauty and put them in a position where they need to align with you at the merge if you get rid of a beauty person. So you're down to Jeremiah and Alexis, and I think Alexis is a much smarter player. So I would get rid of her. I think
so too. I think she's pretty underrated. She seemed to know what she was doing.
I think if she had stayed in the game longer, we would have seen some real moves from her. But they got her out right before she really started.
R.I.P. Their second win.
I kind of agree with Adam. I think that Alexis she kind of played the like she didn't really know what was going on card. And like I think it might have been in this episode, but Spencer even was like, had a clip where he's like, I don't like it. I like girls that are like straight up with me. I don't like it when you play dumb when you're really not. And so, and especially compared with like Jeremiah, like he's probably your only physically. He's probably the best they have. But yeah, he doesn't really understand the game. So you can probably carry him and, he'll be a number for you. But yeah, I think Alexis is probably the better player, the bigger target. So I'm with that. I agree with Adam.
Spencer's basically saying that while LJ trusts cute but doesn't trust hot, Spencer doesn't trust cute.
Well, Spencer doesn't trust smart. He trusts dumb.
Or maybe he trusts smart that says smart.
Right.
He doesn't trust smart that says dumb.
Smart say smart.
I trust cute more than I trust hot.
So bad.
LJ's a monster.
So you talked about this early on, but did you feel blindsided by this then too? Did you see this going in the direction of Jeremiah?
So I don't feel like in my mind, like I wasn't really playing this episode strategically. Like, how would I be doing this? Mm-hmm. And they were like, we're going to vote out Jeremiah. And I was like, I mean, that doesn't seem like a great move, but like, whatever. I don't think it's necessarily a dumb move. Go for it. And then they voted out Alexis. And I was just like, I don't feel like there were any conversations about that happening or what. It literally comes out like Alexis's name pops up and it's like, okay, yeah, Jeremiah votes her out. And then it comes up again and again and again. And you're like, when did this conversation happen that everyone coordinated? Like, I don't remember that.
I think sometimes Survivor tries too hard to kind of like blindside the audience too in a way that doesn't feel like satisfying, and I think this might be an example of that.
That's the thing. Like, you could have edited it in a way that makes it seem like, yeah, we're going for Jeremiah. We had a conversation about Alexis, but like, we're going for Jeremiah. This was just like, they talked about Alexis for like a second. The brains did. And that was it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the conversation was centered on which of these two people are more likely to flip to the other side when we merge, and by your logic, I think they may have made the right choice that Jeremiah is frankly so dumb and game non-cognizant that like you can just tell him, hey, you have to stick with us. And he'd be like, well, okay, I guess that's what I got to do. I'm with this tribe. I have no other option. But Alexis has some savvy to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it did feel kind of blindsiding. So, and
I
she
will say,
cried.
like,
Poor Alexis.
I was really thinking it was going to be Jeremiah just based on like the Tony play and all the conversations. I was taken off guard by it.
For the record, I too would cry if I got voted out in Survivor. So
that was kind of heartbreaking. Like, she was so sad. Like, she didn't make it through the torch ousting.
Mm-hmm.
And when she talked at the end, she was like, I'm just so, what did she say? Like, I'm just so disappointed in myself or something.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I'm just so disappointed. I know I could go farther in this game, or like something like that. Or like, I didn't think I'd be out this early. Like, man, like, you want to talk about someone who loves to play Survivor or really wanted to play Survivor.
Yeah. What do you think she could have done differently to have survived this vote?
I think she made herself a target by being so incessant about Jeremiah's lying to us. I think
you're right.
I think that didn't help. I think the thing is, she had like the semblance of a strategy, or she knew what she wanted, but didn't have a strategy as to how to go about that.
I think it's common too that like it's a risky thing to like make a push on someone else. When you're the one putting someone else's name out there, it is very likely that the counter is, okay, well, let's get that person out instead. So yeah, you're kind of opening yourself up to that when you're the one who's like, this person, we got to get this person.
Well, and I mean, the Brain tribe are really running this tribe. Mm-hmm. Because they have 3 and they're sticking together. They're a voting block, which means that
voting blocks.
The best you can do is get Sarah and Jeremiah to vote with you and force a tie. So it's not a good play to go into there going like, okay, like we're not going to consult the brains. What you do is you go to the brains and you're like, hey, who are you thinking that you want to get out? Like, what are you thinking? This is what I was thinking, but like, I want to vote with you. And Alexis kind of tried to force it. She was like, we can't trust Jeremiah. Jeremiah's got to go. This is, and it
just play it cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be there to like, I'm here to vote with you. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for.
That's another Survivor 101 thing. Like, man, in the social game is, you don't go up to someone and say, this is the vote. We're voting this way. You're voting this way. You instead, like you said, say, hey, who do you want to vote out? And then they tell you, and you either say, yeah, great. Or you say, okay, yeah, also I was thinking this. And then you have a conversation. Going in there just demanding you do a certain thing is a good way to get yourself targeted too.
This whole episode, like start to finish, it's wild. Like a lot of things happen. And
and Lindsay quit.
Yeah. It swings from like Lindsay quitting to like Tony is a psychopath.
Yeah.
To this total blindside, a tribal council. The thing is, I have a hard time saying that this is like a great episode because it didn't feel as polished.
I agree. Yeah. There was a lot for them to fit in this one too.
Yeah.
From the quitting. And also they're setting up the merge, which happens next episode. There's lots of like ground setting you got to do for that.
There's even Lindsay wrote something in the sand for Wu. And like the only thing we get is there's like it's like a B-roll thing where it just kind of like flashes past it.
Oh, I think someone else wrote that about Lindsay.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that was
shame on
it.
you, Lindsay.
Oh, maybe that was it then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was just that's something that just got like blown past. Like
there's so much that happens in an episode of Survivor in real time.
Yeah.
That it's got to be such a chore to figure, not only to cut it down, but to figure out what are the most important 42 minutes for us to show our viewers, And like, ultimately you just kind of have to trust the editors and the producers that they're showing you the best 42 minutes.
Yeah.
And, there's going to be like, if Survivor was 2 hours every week, I'd still watch it, and like there would be like more stuff. And of course I'm interested in more, but.
Is there an episode this season where they don't vote someone out? Because normally when someone quits, don't they like not vote out someone?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'd imagine that since this one happened like right in the beginning of that sequence, that's why they didn't make a whole episode out of a quit. I think every episode ends in a vote out. Sometimes they do like double episodes, and there were no double episodes this season, where there's like 2 episodes kind of condensed into one.
Yeah.
So maybe that would have been the plan had someone not quit. I want to introduce a new thing to the ending of each of these shows, and that is that we all award an MVP for the episode. Which Survivor player had the strongest performance from this episode? I want to come up with a cool name for it other than MVP, but I don't want it to be a spur of the moment dumb thing. So if we've got a good idea for an award that we award.
Survivor.
We can think on it.
Yeah, we'll keep.
Why can't it just be the first thing that pops in my head?
Well, why can't it? So we'll just go around the table here. Whoever feels compelled that they've got their pick, who was the MVP of this week's episode?
Whoever has the spirit of Jeff moving in them.
What?
the spirit compels you, but it's Jeff.
Oh,
it's Jeff.
I gotcha.
Only if you're comfortable.
Everyone close your eyes. I don't know that he played the best game, but it was damn entertaining. I'll give my MVP vote to Tony.
Oh, I was going to say the same thing.
I was going to say the same thing.
Hey, Tony
Dude,
sweeps.
We're unanimous. Did we
Now,
just become an alliance?
Did we just become an alliance?
is that because he played the best game or because he had the most entertaining one?
I think he was risky, but it worked out for him. He caused a lot of tension in the tribe, and ultimately Alexis went home because she was trying to pin so much on... Oh, wait, this wasn't related, was it? Shoot.
I mean, he caused a lot of tension, and he wanted Jeremiah out, but it forced Alexis out. Which isn't what he wanted.
Yeah.
But it's still like he wreaked havoc.
Right.
It kept Sarah in the game, which was probably his ultimate goal.
Yeah, and he also he's forged his team into a fairly strong team, at least like in terms of like unity. Like the 5 seem together. If we're gonna branch out, then I think it's got to be like the brain block.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Cass.
Cass is good. Cass is a real contender. Like,
she's a good player.
Yeah,
she's on my team.
I know she is.
Yeah,
it's also who you picked to win.
Yeah, I sure did.
It seemed like she was kind of the one making the decision, at least like from what was given to us. She seemed to have the loudest voice regarding who it was. And yeah, it's hard to argue with the decision they made. All right, well, let's go ahead and check out our fantasy Survivor scores. Just a reminder on who's on which tribe. Adam owns the Earlobes tribe, who is now populated by Spencer, Wu, Tasha, and Jeremiah. Dara's second wind is Emily's tribe, and that's got Cass, Sarah, Alexis, Trish, and Jeffra. And then Scott's RN Jesus Forever main has Lindsay, Tony, Morgan, and LJ. So after this episode, the scores are in third place with 11.5 is RN Jesus. You gained an extra point because Tony named. Nope, that's wrong. Because because he got an idol clue. It was one that already was in the game, but he got one nonetheless. So Tony got you an extra point, but you lost Lindsay.
Oh, wow.
In second place is the Earlobes tribe with 14.5 points, 3 ahead of RN Jesus. You got an extra point from Wu for the same reason that Tony did, because he also got a...
Technically speaking, Jeremiah also got a clue.
Well, the rules do specify you get 1 point for idle clue advantage found or won, not gifted. So Jeremiah was given or gifted the clue, whereas Wu was technically won it. And then leading the charge is Dara's second win with 16 points, 1.5 points above second place. You got an extra point from Cass for naming the episode, but you did lose Alexis.
Yeah.
Rough stuff.
Yeah. Cass needs to keep giving really insightful confessions.
Yeah. Name-worthy confessionals.
Yeah.
So that's our breakdown at this point, and we are heading into the merge next episode where the points kind of skyrocket, and there's a lot more chance for teams to leave the pack with idols being played and individual immunities being won and all that jazz until we culminate in the finale eventually where buku points are given. This next episode, you will want to stick with us to watch or listen to in this case because it is an all-timer.
It's amazing.
I'm so excited.
Maybe the best merge episode in Survivor history.
This is why I rewatch podcasts. This is why we do this.
This is why we do it.
I was never so I had to pause the episode at one point and stand up in my living room and look at my wife and be like, why is she playing this way?
That didn't happen. I can attest.
And then I came back for it like 2 hours later and was like, she could have just done.
Yeah, it's a great episode. Top 5 baby.
Top 5 baby.
Top 5 baby.
My idol.
So you'll want to make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts so you don't miss that episode or any other of our episodes. Follow us on Twitter where we are completely inactive at Outwatch Podcast. And
hey, tweet at us and we'll be active.
That's true. Yeah, I'll get the notification. So, and you can email us. Nah, don't email us. There's no need. This has been a horrible closing segment here of this podcast, but thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Outwatch.
Wow.